what is data analysis? Okay, in this video I'm going to show you everything about data analysis that you have to know, and then I will explain all of them to you in details. Okay, from the definition of data analysis to the process of data analysis to the tools that we use to achieve data analysis, all of them will be explained to you in detail. Okay, so stick to the end of the video and see everything about data analysis. Okay, so let's dive right in. So data analysis training, this is a complete training in data analysis. Okay, so I will train you in data analysis in this video, so stay to the end and learn everything you need to know about data analysis in this video. So the first thing here is the agenda. So the first agenda here is the introduction. So I'll explain to you what data is and what data analysis is and what data analysts do. Okay, and the second thing is the data analysis processes. Okay, these are the process that are involved in data analysis. Okay, and the third thing and last is the data analysis tools. Okay, these are the tools that we use to achieve the process of data analysis. Okay, so the first one here is the introduction. So what is data? As you can see here, data is a raw facts. Okay, data is a raw fact collected from observations. Okay, that is, data is a raw fact from a particular observation. For example, now maybe I have my students and I have their details. Okay, that means I observe their details and I got it recorded in a particular spreadsheet. Okay, so I have my student's age, email address, and I have, okay, let me explain that with Excel. So I have my student's name here, and then I have my student's age here, and then I have my student's email address here, right? Email address here. Okay, so their name might be Victor, their age might be 21, their email address might be Victor at gmail.com. Okay, so this is my first student. Now I have to add another student to these students now. Okay, so that's going to be Martins. The Martins can be 22, and the Martins at gmail.com as well. Martins at gmail.com. Okay, so these are my students informations, my students data. Not, it is not information yet. Okay, these are my students data, so this is what we call data. Okay, it is not information yet because I don't know about all this. I have not made any meaningful meaning from this particular data yet. Okay, so this is just your data set. Okay, so data is raw facts collected from observation. Okay, you can see here, data is meaningless until transformed, like until you transform the data set, like you clean the data set, okay, to your particular space, okay, and organized. Okay, you have to organize the data set for it to make meaning, and then you have to analyze those data as well and represent those data in a chart format like this chart I seen here, okay, to make meaningful then it becomes information. You cannot use that information for business decisions. Okay, so that is what data is. And the next thing here is data analysis. Okay, so we have data and we have data analysis. Okay, so data analysis is a process. Okay, so data analysis is a process of gathering data, inspecting data, cleaning data, transforming data, and analyzing data to discover useful information. Okay, you are trying to transform that data set that you gathered to make meaningful information. Okay, and also draw conclusion, then support decision making for an organization. Because if you have data set, now that means you are trying to make meaning of those data sets for you to be able to use it for decision making, right? Okay, so that is what data analysis is. Okay, the process of gathering data, inspecting data, cleaning data, and transforming those data, then analyzing those data to discover meaningful information or useful information, draw conclusion, and also support decision making. Okay, so now what are the data analysis processes that we have? Okay, so the first one here is, we have 8 here actually. So the first one here is to define the object. That's the first process here. Define the objective. Okay, so why are you even doing data analysis in the first place? Okay, so you have to define that objective. That is the reason why you are carrying out the data analysis in the first place. Okay, so for me now, it might be about my book sales, right? Because I have a website where I host all my courses and all my books. Okay, so I can easily go to my website and then um, download the data set from my website and then see all the sales I made over time. As you can see it here, so this is the raw data set here, as you can see it here. So I have the product I'm selling here, and I have the date of the transaction. This was 2 years ago, and I have the currency I made the sales in. You can see USD, Nigerian naira, and other currencies here as well, and I have the revenue I made from each of those currencies here. So this is just data, it is not information here. So I have to transform this data here to a useful information that can help my decision making. Okay, as you can see the useful information here, so I've transformed this data here to a useful information here. So now I can use this one now to make my decisions. Okay, what is my decision here? So the decision is to know the highest selling country and highest selling products. Okay, I want to know the product that has the highest sales and also the country where I made my highest sales. Okay, that can actually help me in marketing. So I know that, okay, I want to market more to the country with the highest sales, or I want to market more of the products that I sold more. Okay, as you can see here, I had my highest sales, my highest customer, not even sales, okay? My highest customer here came from Nigeria, as you can see it here. My highest customer came from Nigeria, followed by the USA, okay? But that doesn't mean they are the highest sales, okay? You can see the highest sales here. This is the revenue, and these are the total customers, and these are the total revenue here. So you can see my revenue here came from, the highest one still came from Nigeria, okay? Or I mean the 1.2 million naira in Nigeria, and then for USD is about 1.2 as well, just like a little bit difference. They are too close, okay? So my highest sales came from US, and then my highest customer came from Nigeria. So this will help me to determine the country I want to be marketing more. So even if I want to run an ad, I can easily choose Nigeria to run my ad, or choose US to run my ad, because I know that they're going to buy my product once it gets to those countries, okay? This is the decision making that the entire data is helping me to make now. So the first thing is to define your objective, which I've explained to you. Okay, my objective is to know the country with the highest sales and the country with the highest customers, and also the product I sold the most. Okay, and the second thing you have to do is to collect data. Okay, because if you want to achieve any analysis at all, you have to have data sets to run the analysis, right? So you have to collect those data sets for you to run the analysis. Okay, and the third thing is to clean those data for it to be able to make sense. Okay, because if you have unclean data, you're going to have an inaccurate analysis. Okay, so clean data, accurate analysis; unclean data, inaccurate analysis. Okay, so you have to clean those data to meet your specific need. Okay, and the next thing is data exploration. Here you have to understand your data set. That is what the exploration mean. Okay, you have to understand each of the columns in your data. Okay, so I'll explain more about that. And the next thing is data analysis. So this is where you analyze those data and create those charts. Okay, this is where you come up with those analyses I already showed you. Now I will show you more as time goes. And the next thing here is data visualization. So this is where you visualize those data sets and then see them in a visual format. Okay, and next thing is to make decision with those your visualization. Okay, and then iteration and feedback. This is where you get feedback from the people you worked for, or the stakeholders, or if you are the stakeholders in this sense now, then you can easily get feedback for yourself. Okay, for me now, okay, that okay, my highest country of sales is actually US, and my lowest country of sales is one of those small countries. Okay, so the next thing here is, so I'm going to explain each of these now. So the first one is to define your objective. So I will explain it here in detail. So define the problem you are trying to solve, or the objective of the analysis. Okay, so what to analyze and why to analyze. So what do you want to analyze? The first one should be, why do you want to analyze? Okay, so why do you want to analyze? So I want to analyze this data because I want to understand my customers. Then what do you want to analyze? I want to analyze my customers' data. Okay, so you have to answer those two questions. Those are the objective. Okay, so identify the goal or the problem I'm trying to address, or understand the business or a research question. Okay, what factors, this is like an example. So what factors influence customer churn? So that might be your own objective. Okay, so the next thing here is data collection. So this is where you gather data set from different sources or for a particular source of your choice. Okay, so where to get data? So you can get data set from different sources. Okay, so the first one here is databases. Okay, so if you're working for a company, it is always or almost always that they have their data sets in a particular database that you have to query those database with SQL for you to retrieve data from database and then start analyzing those data set that is just retrieved, right? So database is owned by most companies, so they have their data sets in that database most of the time. Okay, and then we have the API, that is if you want to get data set from maybe a particular website that they don't give you access to, so you can use the API here to get those data set from the website. Okay, the API here is application programming interface. Okay, that is the interface between two different applications. Okay, so the next thing here is the survey. Maybe you want to get your data set from asking people questions. Okay, like research questions. So you can be asking people questions: what's your name, what's your age, what you like eating the most, like those social media guys used to do, right? So that is what we call survey. And then we call social media. So this social media is like you can get data set from social media. Maybe like you run a social media poll. Okay, I want to get a particular information, so just run a poll on social media for people to just vote. So that is another way of getting data sets. Okay, so here ensure the data is relevant and sufficient for your goals. So the first thing is relevancy. It must be relevant to your goals, and then sufficient. Also, the population is 1,000. You just have only 2 samples out of the 1,000 population. You are going to make inaccurate data, inaccurate information analysis. Okay, so you have to always have sufficient and relevant data sets. Okay, so these are the tools that we use to get data sets. Okay, so the first one here is SQL. So we use SQL here to access our database, and then we use Python to scrape websites, that is the API. Also web scraping here. Okay, and the next thing here is data cleaning. Okay, make your data usable. Okay, so you have to like go through your data set and make sure that your data set is actually usable, so you clean this to your specific need. Okay, so you know how to handle your missing data, so you have to clean it and then handle your missing data with different approaches. Okay, then remove duplicates, because once you have a duplicate in your data set, it's going to affect your outcome and also your decision. Okay, and then standardize your format. So if you have a date, so you have to like make the date the same thing. Okay, you have to have a date, the same format of your dates, and then if you, yeah, you should also convert your strings, your column that have only text, to a string format. Okay, and it has only numbers, then convert it to a whole number format. Okay, and next one is identify and fix errors or inconsistencies. So let me explain this one with Excel. So sometimes you might have your students here. Maybe I have the student's name is Esther, right? So Esther is 10 years old, right? And Esther at gmail.com, of course. So now this 10 years old here, 10 here is correct. I can also write 10 like this. This is also correct. And this is also correct. But this is actually inconsistent. So I can write either of these 10 like this and I'll be right. But this is inconsistent data. So you have to have your data set in a consistent format. If you want to have it in a Roman number, have it in a Roman number. Have all of them here in a Roman number. If you want to have them in a text format like this, have them in a word like this. If you want to have them as a numbers like this, then have all of them as numbers. Okay, so this 10 here is acceptable here, but these two are not acceptable here. Okay, that is what inconsistent data mean. Okay, so we have tools here that we use for data cleaning. So the first one here is the pandas in Python. So pandas is actually a Python library that we use for data cleaning, data analysis, and also data exploration. Okay, and then we have the R here, and we have Excel, of course. The Power Query is the most powerful one I really like. Okay, so I use Power Query every time to clean my data set, and that is my preferred data cleaning tool. Okay, then we have Power BI and we have SQL. So we have Power Query here in Excel and we have Power Query here in Power BI. Okay, so you can use Power Query in Excel and you can use Power Query in Power BI. So the next thing here is the extract, transform, and load process. So we call this ETL. The extract, transform, and load is like the data cleaning process. So the E here, it means extract, and extract means you want to get data set from a particular source. That's like you're trying to extract those data set from a particular source, okay? And then you bring them to your Power Query, or you can see I use Power Query, PQ is Power Query, so you use PQ for ETL. So you bring those data into your Power Query for transformation. You now transform that data set in your Power Query, then you load it into your what? Into your Excel or Power. Like I said we use Excel, Power Query in Excel, and we use Power Query in Power BI. Okay, so now you can now transform. After I got into those data set, I can now transform those data in Power Query. You can now load it into your either Excel or Power BI for further data analysis, because you don't analyze data using Power Query, you only clean data using Power Query. Okay, that is your ETL. So the next thing here is data exploration. So data exploration here means you are trying to understand your data set. You are trying to understand each of the columns in your data. Like this one now, this is my product column. So I have to understand, okay, in this my product columns, how many products do I have here? So I can easily go over it and then make sure that it's actually only one type of data I have inside this product column here. Okay, so I have to go over it one by one. So I'll just click on this dot here, then you can check, okay, I have only 3 different products here and they are all in the same format. Okay, then go through the data as well, explore data as well, and also explore your currency and understand each of those columns. Okay, so this is what we call a column, and this is a product column here, and this is a translate column, currency column, revenue column, and total revenue column. Okay, so each of these ones are the rows and rows. Okay, so you have to understand your columns and understand what each of the columns is saying. That is what we call data exploration. And the next thing here is summarize data. So you have to summarize those your data set to understand them better. We might have a class now. Okay, let me say this one is also 24 years old. Their name is random name. And this one is 21 years old. Their name is also random name. Okay, so now if I want to understand this my age column now, I can easily use mean, median, or mode to understand this my age column here. Okay, so if I use mean now to understand my column, that means if I want to run a mean for this my column now, so the mean is going to be between 10 and 24. Okay, so that's okay. Let me change this particular because it's too small compared to other ones. So let me change this one to 19. Okay, so the mean of this age here is going to be 20 or 21, right? So the mean of this age here is 21 or 20. If you check it, you're going to get the mean. So let's just check the mean here. So equal sign, then type your average. Average is same thing as what? As mean. Okay, the average is going to just highlight the entire age here and press enter. You can see 21 is the mean here. Okay, so now I see that the mean here is 21 because the data here is actually close to each other. Okay, the numbers are close to each other: 21, 22, 19, 24, and 21. Okay, but if you have like 94 here or 82, it is going to affect your mean, and that way you know that okay, there is an outlier somewhere to affect the mean. You can see the mean here is 34. Even though I have small number compared to 34 here, why am I having 34? So in case you have like large data sets and you can't even go over all of them with your naked eyes, right? So you can easily use your mean to identify an outlier in your data set like this now. Okay, I was expecting 21 to be my mean, so why am I having 34? That means there is one or two or more outliers in my data, so I can easily identify it with this. Okay, that is how you explore your data set using the mean, median, and mode. Okay, then visualize trend and distribution. So next one here is identify patterns, correlations, and outliers. So I've identified outliers using my mean, median, mode, and then the correlation is going to tell you how each of those columns are correlated to each other. Like this, does one occurrence affect the other one occurring? Okay, so that is what we call the correlation, like correlation between two different values. Okay, and we use Power BI for data exploration, EDA, and we use Tableau as well. We use Python as well. So, but the most used tool for EDA is Python. Okay, we use Python mostly for data exploration. Okay, and next thing here is data analysis or DA. So analyze the data set. So this is where you analyze the data set to discover information here. For example, here now, if I want to see the most occurred age here, I can easily analyze this now. Okay, so let me just copy this guy's email and just automatically fill it, so it will appear for others. It won't be like some have and some don't have. So this to analyze the data set, so we use Excel for analysis, we use Power BI, Python, or SQL for analysis. But to analyze the data set in Excel here, I can easily check for this my age occurrence here now to see the most occurred age here, okay, or the most occurred name here and see their age as well. So we use what we call the pivot table in Excel for what? For data analysis in Excel. So go to pivot table here, and then the table range will be selected for you automatically, and then go to OK in this particular sheet here. So I'm going to check the age and then the name. Okay, so total name here is what? You can see their age and their names here. Okay, and then let me just add the age again to this rows. So you can see here and convert this one. This is the rows and these are the age. But here I'm getting the sum of age, but I want to see the most occurring age here. Okay, I want to see the most occurring age here. So just convert this sum here to what? To a count to see the most occurring age. So summarize value by count. So you can see here the most occurring age is 21 years old, and other ones appeared 1 1. So this is what we call data analysis. To convert this your data set here to an information. I can say, okay, so the most common age of my students is actually 21. That is the most common age. That is an information for you now to know your students better. Okay, that is one example. We still have more. So use these tools here for data analysis like Excel, Power BI, Tableau, Python, Matplotlib. So the next thing is the data visualization. This is the way you communicate your analysis to your stakeholders or to non-data analysts, so they can actually understand it better, because if you show them a visual format, they will understand it more than just showing them this random analysis here. Okay, so you can easily convert this your analysis here to a visual, like to a graph. Okay, so you just select it here and then go to pivot table here. That should be here. Then pivot chart here. Then you can see here, choose one chart of your choice. Though there's a way we use our charts. I will explain that one in our next video. So choose one chart. So now we are seeing our charts in one. So you can see your data here in one chart. So this will help you to make decision, and it will delete so you can have enough space. Delete so you can have enough space. Remove button or button. So you can see here that, okay, once they see it here, okay, oh, 21 is actually higher. So even if they don't know how to read, they will see the bars as the bars are higher than each other. So the 21 here is actually very high, and that's 2. And this one is occur 1. So this data you are seeing here is also the same thing as what you are seeing in this particular chart here. Okay, so that is what we call charts, representing with your chart, okay, or visualization. So the next thing here is decision making. So this is where you use your analysis to make decisions. Okay, for me now, I made decision here in my analysis here that, okay, since I have this we call this dashboard, because this is a combination of different charts, and we call that a dashboard. Okay, so I have my dashboard here of my products. So here I have how many products? I have 3 different products here. Let me convert this particular chart to a normal chart, change chart. This is not the type of chart we should be using. Okay, so I have here with me, I have 3 different products here, and the first one is DAME, data analysis made easy. As you can see here, I have data analysis made easy here, then I have techie's guide, and I have 12 strategies here. Okay, so the most common one, the one I made the highest sales in, is DAME, and my highest sales by country is actually Nigeria, then followed by USA. Okay, so here I can easily make my decision that, okay, since I have more sales in US and Nigeria, then I want to focus on marketing. I want to focus my marketing on USA and Nigeria, and I see that I have more sales in DAME. That means I want to promote. You can even see the difference between the sales here. That means I want to promote DAME more. DAME means data analysis made easy book. Okay, so I want to promote DAME more than other products, because I actually have more sales in DAME than other products. Okay, so that is like my own decision I've made based on this my analysis here, Your own might be different. Maybe you are trying to analyze another thing entirely. That is decision making. So you have to present the result to the stakeholders, then they make informed decision or recommendation, and then document actionable inside like it. You have to document every of the decision that you make. Okay. And next thing here is the iteration and feedback. So you refine the process, okay? So gather feedback on the analysis. So you have to ask the stakeholders for how the analysis that you did for them actually helps their business to improve, because that is the most important thing in the whole analysis here, to make an improved decision. So how is your analysis helping their business, and how are they finding it useful in their business? Okay. You revisit your step as necessary to improve accuracy and focus on new questions. So the next thing here and the last thing as well is the data analysis tools. Okay, so these are the tools that we use in data analysis. Okay, so the first one here is Excel. So I put Excel first because that is what I tell everybody to start with, and also it is like the most constant data analysis tool I've seen. Okay, so I don't care who you are, as far as you are a data, no, not thank you yet. We are still here. As far as you're a data analyst, you must know Excel. That one is non-negotiable. Okay, you can actually ignore every other thing, but Excel you must learn it. Okay, because Excel cuts across every data analysis processes. Okay, Excel can do almost everything it needs to do. Okay, so Excel is used for data analysis, as you can see it here. We also use Excel for reporting and also for building dashboard and building charts and graphs, but I don't want to put those ones here because there's no space. Building charts and graph, and for data entry and for data cleaning. You can see Excel is actually very common to all the data analysis processes that we've discussed earlier. And the next one is the Power BI here. So we use Power BI for data visualization majorly. Okay, we use Power BI for data visualization, and then for business reporting, for data analysis, and for data integration, because you can easily integrate Power BI to other Power Platform tools or to SQL. Okay, and then use Tableau as well for data visualization and for also data analysis and for data integration. Then we use SQL to retrieve data from database or to manipulate database, and also for data analysis. Okay, then we use Python. Python is used for data analysis using pandas, and then we use Python for visualization using for data visualization using the matplotlib, and we also use Python for machine learning, data science, AI, web development, automation, scripting, and a lot of things. Okay, but what I want to explain to you is that you don't have to learn all these 5 tools you are seeing here. Okay, but the most constant ones you are seeing here is the Excel, then followed by SQL. So those two are almost always constant. It is constant that you use Excel at work and you use SQL at work. Okay, then you cannot choose one or two of these other ones, then learn, then you are good. Okay, so you use Excel, you use SQL, then you can choose Power BI and Python, or you can choose Tableau and Python. But I don't tell my students to learn Power BI and Tableau together. You can choose only one of them and learn based on your location. If you are in Africa, then choose Power BI. If you are in Europe, then choose any of them. If you are in Canada or America, choose any of them. You are good. Okay. Another takeaway from this entire thing is that all these 5 tools here, right, except SQL, so all these, the remaining 4 tools here can actually do your entire data analysis processes for you. So all those 5 tools, they can do all these data analysis processes. Okay, so for example, Excel can do your data collection. It can also clean your data set for you perfectly. It can also help you to explore data sets. It can also help you for data analysis. It can also help you on data visualization and also on decision making. Okay, but this number 1 and number 8 is human, is for us to do, we human, not for the tools to do. So the tools don't help you to define your objective, and the tools don't help you to get feedbacks. Okay, so that is on us to do. Okay, but the remaining 6 here, Excel can do all of them for you. Power BI can get data sets for you, can clean data sets for you, can do header for you, can do analysis for you, can also visualize data for you, and also help you to make decisions. Okay, so Power BI can do all these things as well. SQL can do most of them, but it cannot do data visualization. Okay, Python can do all of them. Okay, but now all these processes you are seeing here, those tools are actually better at handling each of these. Okay, for example, now for data collection here, SQL is the best at that. For data cleaning here, Power BI and Excel are best for data cleaning. For data exploration here, Python is the best for data exploration. For data analysis, Excel, Power BI, and Python and also SQL, Tableau is also the best for that. And for data visualization here, Tableau and SQL and Power BI. Tableau and Power BI are the best for data visualization. Okay, so all those tools are just better than others at achieving each of these processes here. That's it. Thank you, and I will see you again in my next video. Or check out this video here to see how to learn data analysis. Okay, I will see you again next time.